Okay, that's the big story though, is in Chennai at the moment, where the swearing-in ceremony has concluded. We have a new Chief Minister at last. Mr. K.C. Palanisami, the strongman of Salem and a Sashikala loyalist, has become the Chief Minister, ending 12 days of uncertainty. That ceremony took place a short while ago at the Raj Bhavan. Vidyasagar Rao, the governor, swearing in Mr. Palaniswamy along with 30 ministers. Let me get you back in, T.S. Sudhir. Give us a sense as to what next now in Tamil Nadu, the floor test itself. Do you believe that there is any challenge at all to Mr. Palanisami, given the fact that O. Paneerselvam supporters have still not accepted defeat?
Well, before that, I was just thinking about the three occasions when swearing-in ceremonies have taken place at Raj Bhavan since the May 2016 elections. I was here at the swearing-in ceremony for May 2016, and the atmosphere was one of jubilation because Jayalalitha had won a second consecutive term. December 2016, when the swearing-in ceremony took place at the dead of night at 1:30 a.m., everyone was in a moment of grief because Jayalalitha had just passed away. And today the mood is very tentative. Of course, they have to undertake a floor test, prove their majority on the floor of the house in 15 days. So the mood is definitely a little anxious and tentative, but they would probably have little reason to worry because the 124 MLAs have backed them all through the last 8 days ever since Paneerselvam revolted. Yes, the Paneerselvam camp still talks about wait and watch, but nothing really much is likely to happen over the next 15 days, even if Palaniswamy actually decides to show his majority only the last of that 15-day period. It's most likely that most of these 124 odd MLAs will back Palaniswamy and not really desert the camp at this stage when they know that they are going to be part of the new power structure of the AIDMK in Tamil Nadu. So highly unlikely that he will lose any numbers because he will have the crumbs of power to distribute among many people who have stood by Sashikala in this hour of crisis.
You know, that's very interesting the way you're putting it there, Sudhir. And, you know, I think the key now, of course, is whether Mr. Palanisami can enjoy a stable regime, because the governor had to choose someone who would guarantee stability. The numbers, it appeared, were with Palanisami, but remember, those MLAs will have to vote the same way on the floor of the house. Will they do that is now the big question. Narayan Lakshman, do you believe that the MLAs will do exactly what Mr. Palanisami has said they will on the floor of the house? Or have we not seen the last act in this long-running Tamil soap opera?
No, this is a proxy content of the Sashikala, and people are not fooled. The party can talk whatever they want.
Let me see if we can get Narayan Lakshman. If Mr. Narayan Lakshman is not in, let me try and see Ven Ram, former editor-in-chief of the Hindu, whether he is joining us now. Mr. Ram, do you believe that? Do you believe we've seen the last of this entire long-running drama, sir?
No, absolutely not. I think there's got to be more twists. Much depends on what kind of public support Paneerselvam is going to command, how he goes about this, whether he'll take the offensive and mobilize this public support so that pressure is put on the MLAs by the constituents. So I think much depends on it. And one thing is clear, Rajdeep, that the longer Palanisami delays taking the vote of confidence, the greater the risk he's going to face. So it is in his interest to do it early next week.
There could be more. You believe, interestingly, there could be more twists. What could those twists be, Narayan Lakshman, Senior Deputy Editor of The Hindu? What kind of twists can we expect? There's been much speculation over the role of the centre, whether it really wanted Sashikala or her nominee to be Chief Minister. They were putting their weight behind Paneerselvam. The name of at least one union minister was doing the rounds. Will there be more twists that may eventually result in governor's rule, or do you believe Mr. Palanisami will at least be in charge for the next 6 months?
That's a great question, Rajdeep. I think if they survive the floor test, they have basically given themselves a lifeline that could run a little more stably. It could run for a longer time, maybe a few months or even longer. The high risk period essentially is between now and when they hold the floor test, which is, I mean, I agree with Mr. Ram there that it's in his, Mr. to hold it at the earliest possible juncture. And as for the BJP, yes, there were whispers, so many that all of us heard going around that, Mr. Pannirselvam's very act of, going to the memorial and wiping back his tears and all that was, in some sense, he had an inkling, maybe from Delhi, maybe from somewhere else, that this verdict was going to go a certain way and that he would maybe have support from the center. So we can't rule out this fact. And the more interesting question to me is, look back at history and what does that tell us? I was saying this earlier, we are looking exactly next month, I believe, at 50 years since the ejection of Chief Minister Bhaktavatsalan and the 1967 rout of the Congress, since when the Dravidian movement has transformed the state. Now you can argue for better or worse, but it has given a certain aura, a certain color to the way policy is enacted, to the way political mobilization and elections happen. And you could see we are definitely at what is called an inflection point in that regard. And the real question is, will these parties crumble in the absence of a leader? Let's not forget, Mr. Karunanidhi has also stepped back in the past few months, and Mr. Stalin's absolute control over all parts of the state remain to be tested and challenged. So we don't know that that's a given either, although they do have 89 MLAs right now. So the point is, we are at a rather fragile and tentative balance of power within the assembly, but at the same time, the survival of the floor test, to me, would mark a critical turn for the Palanisami faction, because then they could focus on policy. And what I suspect is, they have been very clever in one little thing here which we haven't yet noted, which is that they have retained the Jayalalitha Pannirselvam balance, I think you mentioned this, Rajdeep, of portfolios. And therein, the signal being sent out is, we still want that legitimacy that derives from the power of Jayalalitha, the icon, and Amma. And so anyone who challenges that by inference is on weak ground. So the real question is, will they wait for the floor test and then maybe consider reshuffles? Because again, like we said earlier in this discussion, there is this balancing act that is now needed between Tevars, Gaundars, and also controlling different parts of the state. So the southern parts of the state may not have as much representation in this particular cabinet as, say, the west. Mr. Sengotian, etc., represent certain parts of the west, and there are others from Krishnagiri and those areas. So the balancing act has to play out, but I think they'll wait for the floor test. For that, once they've passed that critical point, there could well be a reshuffle. So we got to keep our eyes on that.
We got to keep our eyes on that. Mr. Ram, one more thing that we must keep our eyes on. I thought Narayan Lakshman put it well. It's, it is at the end of the day 50 years this year since the DMK scored that famous victory in the 67 elections. Do you believe that the AIDMK will hold in the years to come? What we've seen in the last 12 days is a sign that this is a party imploding. Can the swearing in alone stop that implosion in your view? Or is this in some way the first signs that this could be the beginning of the end of the MGR Jayalalitha legacy?
Yes, I don't think the party is in a very strong position, because, as you say, there are signs that it is imploding at the moment. That implosion has been checked, but it may not be for very long. There is also the challenge on the party front, where the Election Commission has been approached. The whole takeover by Sashikala, on the face of it, doesn't seem in compliance with the party constitution. She shouldn't have been elected that way. And certainly her appointment of TTV Dinakaran as Deputy General Secretary has absolutely no basis in the party constitution. The Election Commission, I think, has done the right thing by going by the rules of natural justice and serving notice. But that's something that's going to be watched, because it will affect, I don't know if it will affect the functioning of the government, whatever government is in place, but it will certainly affect the functioning of the party. And on the face of it, as I said, they are not in compliance with the party constitution, what has happened after the death of Jayalalitha. So I think that's going to be another issue to look at. Much depends, Rajdeep, on how Pannirselvam, how OPS goes to the public, goes to people, and does his campaign. Is he the kind of leader who can show off the fight? He's got the example of Jayalalitha, who, whatever her weaknesses, and despite her monumental corruption, now it's clear after the Supreme Court's verdict, did show qualities, admirable qualities of fight. You can say the same thing about Mr. Karunanidhi. Certainly fighting leaders. Whether Pannirselvam has it in him to show those qualities, we just don't know. He's an unlikely person for the claiming martyrdom at the moment, but he seems to be holding firm. He seems to be
I'm going to stop you, Mr.
very strongly opposed to the
Right. I'm going to stop you, Mr. Ram, for a moment. There's some disturbance with the audio line. We'll try and come back with a bit more, just a little bit more to understand where does this leave the two main characters now in the drama. Sashikala Natarajan is, as we speak, in a jail in Bengaluru. Mr. Paneer Selvam is licking his wounds for now. Is this the end of the battle, the war for the Tamil throne, or have we only seen one more act in this long-running drama? Final comments from all my guests when I return. Tamil Nadu has a new Chief Minister. K.C. Palanisami sworn in a short while ago along with 30 ministers at the Raj Bhavan. Those images coming a short while ago, we are told he's now off to the Jayalalitha Memorial to pay his respects. So Jayalalitha's legacy in that sense remains intact, some would say, as far as Mr. Palanisami is concerned, at least in his public demeanor. S. Srinivasan, senior journalist with us along with several other guests. Srini, I want quick comments from all of you before I conclude today's special coverage. Your sense, is it the end of the uncertainty in Tamil Nadu, or can we expect more weeks of instability in a state that has really seen no government almost since September when Jayalalitha went to hospital?
Absolutely. I don't think it's going to end. It's just the beginning. I think there will be a lot of turmoil before finally, the politics here settles down. But look at the fact, so far, Jayalalitha has been holding reins very tightly. She has been a very colossal figure who's been holding the reins of regime very, very tightly. What used to happen every now and then, she will reshuffle the cabinet. Now, what has happened in last few weeks, what we are seeing is the cabinet is the same, only the chief minister is being changed now. We saw first the chief minister OPS being sworn in, there were question marks, then now he's being replaced by Palanisami. Now there are a lot of challenges before Palanisami. First, he has to balance all the castes. If you look at today, Sengotian, who's also his caste, who's a Tevar, has been given in third position, and they have brought in Dindikal Srinivasan in the second position, another Tevar. But this cabinet is just a stand-in cabinet. I think the real cabinet will take shape after the trust vote, because the speculation is that after all, TTV Dinakaran may find a place, because Sasikala doing a kind of a backseat driving,
right,
probably would like somebody who could also be ears and eyes within the cabinet. So there is a possibility of that happening.
So
also,
you believe
regional representation, balancing of caste, those things will continue.
Okay, so you believe that balancing the caste factor will be just one of his many challenges. The other challenge, of course, will be, can he in some way achieve a truce with Paneer Selvam's camp, or is that all over? Mr. K.C. Palanisami, you've lost the battle with E. Palanisami in this round. But you are an OPS loyalist. Are you all willing to reach out to the new regime and work out a patch-up? Can a patch-up be expected ahead of that trust vote, or will the Paneer Selvam camp vote against Mr. Palanisami in the trust vote?
Yeah, there is one small correction.
Yes.
It was mentioned by Mr. Srini that Mr. Sengotian is a Devar. He is a Kongu Velala counter, the same caste of Mr. Palanisami and me and the western zone. That is a small correction in that.
Yes.
Then it is a beginning of a new dynamics in politics. That is, earlier, the leader to cadre based politics was in existence for about 40 years, for 45 years. Now, cadre to leader based politics will emerge. Right. And it is not that we got defeated, in fact we have won. How? Because our entire momentum was started to prevent Sasigala coming to power. It is not a fight we started OPS versus Palanisami. We started the fight Jayalalitha loyalist versus Sasigala loyalist. And somehow today I can claim we have prevented Sasigala in getting into the power.
No, one minute. You are just a minute, Mr. Palanisami. You are saying you have prevented Sasigala from coming to power. At the end of the day, though, her person who is seen as her proxy has at the moment been sworn in. I want to get a final word. At the moment from Narayan Lakshman. Narayan Lakshman, do you believe that Sashikala will run this government from Bangalore jail?
Well, not in those stark terms that you put it, Rajdeep, but I do think she will exert influence, if that's what you mean, through TTV Dinakaran. We can certainly expect that that family's worldview, that's family's vision for this state, if you can call it that,
yes,
will manifest itself in their policies and even in the way the party is organized. And to me, I mean, to leave you with to put in a few final thoughts, there are dangers both within and from outside. The dangers within are the fact that this margin of victory, if there is a victory in the floor test, will be extremely narrow, and it is liable to face challenges and threats even going forward.
Right.
So as someone was saying to me earlier, if you have a massive Jallikattu type movement happening, and let's say somehow MLAs are swayed, that margin is so narrow that the government itself could crumble. So that is the threat from within of instability. From outside, certainly you have the DMK waiting in the wings, you have the BJP potentially playing its own games, keeping an eye on the fact that the powerful leaders of Tamil Nadu have stepped back. And most importantly, and finally, for the people of Tamil Nadu, it has been a battering 6 months or so. You saw the death of Jayalalitha, you saw Cyclone Varda, you saw the demonetization, you saw the oil spill, you saw Jallikattu. When will there be decisive political leadership to carry out the agenda of the state as it used to be?
Can I just hold you there? Can I hold you there, because we are ending of the program, and I'm going to say something. In the last few months, it appears almost as if Chennai is the new news capital of India. I don't think ever before has there been such sustained focus on stories coming in from Chennai as it has been over the last few months. When was the last time that a swearing-in ceremony of the Tamil Nadu government in Tamil was carried live across English news channels? Ram, 15 seconds. The world has changed. All through my journalistic career over the last 30 years, I always thought Delhi was the center of power. I started life in Mumbai thinking Mumbai would be the place. It never became so, but it looks like Chennai is the new capital of English news. What? It appears the world has changed. We might as well all come down south and join you there, sir. Better weather, I'm told, barring the heat, and nicer people.
Yes, Rajdeep, I remember your Mumbai days very well. We worked together on certain issues. But you're right. There used to be complaints here all the time. I heard them that the South was neglected. But today, we are the political center of India, for good or worse. And it's very, very interesting. But I don't think, I think there's a lot of drama ahead. So there will be more headlines on, Tamil Nadu will command more headlines in the weeks to come.
We better get a special camera in your house. We better install a special camera in your house so you can comment on all the issues and all the ups and downs, because as you said, this may only be one more act in this long-running Tamil drama, the pot boiler to beat pot boilers. Finally, we have a chief minister, but how long will he last? Will he win the floor test? Lots of questions that remain unanswered. Thank you all very much for joining us on this special coverage. My colleague Devina takes over after this. As I said,